Everything is moving slow. Goodness gracious. I got this shit up there and it's still acting like that. Come on, man. They be hating on me on these live streams. Let's see. Are we live? Let's see. Okay, we live. Okay. Hey, Shalom. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that other app. That thing was tripping. You know. Hold on 1 second. Let's see what we got. Let's see. Hey, Shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, this will be a hit the button. July 9th, 2026. All right, so we're just gonna let the spirit move. I don't really have nothing lined up, so we'll just grab scriptures as we move along, and whatever brothers post in the comments we'll get, and we'll just go from there. I got these two videos here because I really wanted to go live on that other app because I have more range to to put stuff in the screen and show things, but whatever, we'll just play these two clips here. So this first one here is from, was it Midas Touch? Midas Touch, Trump shuts down White House as war escalation backfires. All right. So as we know that the negotiations are over, all right, and the war is back on, as just following up the lesson that I did yesterday. So at the end of the day, everything is the will of Yahweh Shemel Shai. And like I said, the Lord, according to the scriptures, the Lord is a man of war. All right. So this is the Lord's operation. And it can't be changed, is the point. All right. So you got all these people that want to put an end to this war and they want peace and all of that. Well, those things are not going to happen. All right. Isaiah 48 and 22. We can get that real quick, just thinking out loud. All right. What do the scriptures say? Isaiah 42 and 22. I'm sorry, Isaiah 48 and 22. And it reads, it says, there is no peace, saith the Lord, unto the wicked. All right. So there's no peace coming to America at all. All right. And we expect things to get, entirely worse as they are now. Okay. So we're in the heat of the summer. All right. Literally. Okay. It's hot as hell. and these prophecies are hot as hell as well. Okay. And what did the Lord say? I'm sticking out loud. Was it Luke 12? He said, what will I if the fire be already kindled? Let me get that real quick. Luke 12 and was it 49? Yep. Luke 12 and 49. And it reads, it says, I am come to send fire on the earth. Man, and it's fucking hot. It's hot outside. The prophecies is hot. The global tension, the spirit of war, death, destruction, chaos. All right, you name it. All right, you name it. Luke 12:49, it says, I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it already be kindled? All right, look at the state of the planet Earth, man. Okay, so we're at the point, as they say, we're at the point of no return. Okay, there's no going back. Okay, we are approaching the inevitable end of the world. Okay, as we know it. And when we say the world, we're talking about the end of Esau's dominion, the end of his rulership, man. Okay, this is where we at in prophecy. All right, Luke 12 and 49, I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it already be kindled? but I have a baptism to be baptized with. And how am I straightened to it be accomplished? All right, because Yahweh Shai had to endure the cross. He had to do what he had to do. You know, he had to go through his trials. Okay, verse 51. Suppose ye that I am come to give peace on earth. I tell you, nay, but rather division. All right, so division is the spirit of Yahweh Shai, and that cuts that whole idea of peace. Okay, and unity. Okay, the Lord said, suppose ye that I come to give peace on earth. It's not happening, Jack. I tell you, nay, but rather division. All right, the whole world is divided at the core, man. Okay, you got the conflict amongst the nations. You got the conflict that's going on in America right now with the politics and religion, so-called, and you know the people's stance when it comes to what they believe in and how America's supposed to be, and you know people are divided everywhere, man, on every level. Okay, and that's the will of the Lord. Verse 52. For from hence there should be 5 in one house divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. The father should be divided against the son, and the son against the father, the mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. So there you go. Okay, the house would be divided. Okay, so that spirit of division, as you see here on the header, all right, it says so-called Christ or Yahweh Shai. All right, Yahweh Shai divides men. Okay, that's the spirit that's being exercised in the earth right now as we speak. Right. Let me get a couple more before we play the video. Just just thinking out loud. Like I said again, let's just let's just hit the button. So bear with me. We're just moving in the spirit. All right. So this is Proverbs 21 and 30. And it reads, it says, there is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Lord, Yahweh Shai. All right. So no matter what these people try to do, this idea of peace and negotiations and unity and stop the violence and whatever else these people, want to come to pass, it's not going to happen. All right. The will of the Lord, the will of Yahweh Shai will not be changed. Right. One more. Psalm 33. And let me go there. I think it's Psalms 33. And Psalms 33 and 8. And it reads, let all the earth fear the Lord, Yahweh Shai. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. For he spake, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast. Verse 10. The Lord, Yahweh Shai, bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. He maketh the devices of the people of none effect. Right? And see, we're approaching the rollout of this beast system, and these devils think they're going to rule the world through, with AI. Okay, and merging the technology into people's bodies, and basically, being a pseudo god over humanity. All right, and the Lord said he bringeth the counsel of the heathen to naught. All right, so again, as we always discuss, all right, we're at the pinnacle of this man's pride and his technology and his power. Like the Lord said, he raised up Pharaoh, to show his power, to show who's the true power. See, so we're basically, we're in that scenario all over again. Pharaoh has hardened his heart. He thinks he's going to do away with the Israelites. He thinks he's going to have the victory, and then the hero shows up. Just like in every movie, right? The antagonist gets proud, right? The villain, he gets proud. He thinks he's going to achieve his plans, and and then all of a sudden is the Lord, the superhero crashes the party, so to speak, and that's what's going to happen here, But it says, verse 11, it says, the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Shai, standeth forever. the thoughts of his heart to all generations. So again, the will of Yahweh Shemel Shai will stand. All right. And there's no disannulling that, no changing that. All right. So let's get into these clips here. The Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. All right. Again, Trump shuts down White House as war escalation backfires. All right.
Donald Trump has shut down the White House. He has kicked out all of the press for the day as his escalation of this catastrophic war in Iran has backfired in his face in the most predictable way. And it's in a way that's not getting nearly enough attention. The biggest way it's backfiring right now is that the strategic petroleum reserves in the United States have basically hit functional tank bottom. That actual tank bottom marker will be hit in the next 5 to 10 days, which means we are on the brink of global economic catastrophe while Donald Trump is out there playing war games, killing people in Iran and saying, oh, they called, they want to make a deal. I want to go through this with you with receipts to give you the analysis you need to hear that you may not be hearing anywhere else. And
Yeah. So that's heavy. And I said that yesterday, this war, all right, this war with Iran, is going to pretty much tank the economy here. All right. And we all see it. It's the perfect plan to crash the economy and bring in that reset, man. Okay. Our focus is on that financial reset, all right, where they roll out the beast. Okay. These technocrats are ready. All right. The chip is at the door. The UBI, this digital economy that they can't wait to usher in. So, how much more perfect is this situation? Okay. To allow that to happen. Real quick, let me get that in. Was it Isaiah? Bear with me. It's Isaiah 31. I always bring it out. Let me find it real quick. I believe it's Isaiah 31. Is it Isaiah 31? Let's try Isaiah 30. 1 second. Isaiah 30 and yep. Isaiah 30. This is the book of Isaiah 30 and verse 12. And it reads, it says, wherefore, thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because you despise his word and trust in oppression and perverseness and stay thereon. Therefore, this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breakage cometh suddenly at an instant. And that's going to be the state of this economy, man. Instantly, this shit is going to crash, and people are not prepared. People are not they're not expecting this to happen. Okay, but we are, because we're occupied in prophecy. We understand that this has to happen. Okay, this is the next phase, so to speak, in the plans of the wicked. Okay, so this war is definitely going to do just that. I want to read this in the NLT, if it can pull up. Bear with me. Yeah, here we go. Same verse, NLT. And it reads, where's it at? NLT. And it reads here, NLT. It says, calamity will come upon you suddenly, like a bulging wall that bursts and falls. In an instant, it will collapse and come crashing down. And see, so this is what he's basically saying here. Okay, while Trump is trying to wage war and all of that, okay, this is going to affect everything about this economy. Zephaniah, I was thinking about that one too. That great crashing, that second and great crashing from the hills. Let me get that too. Right, Zephaniah, chapter 1 and 10. And it reads, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day, excuse me, and it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, that there should be a noise of a cry from the fish gate and a howling from the second and great crashing from the hills. All right. So there's going to be an economic collapse. Okay? It says, how ye inhabitants of Mektesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off, right? So you have these financial advisors, these financial gurus, the people who work at Wall Street, okay? Basically the keepers of the house, okay, that watch over the economy. They know exactly what's about to happen. Okay? So eventually, you know, this economy as we know it is going to be cut off. No more use of paper dollars. All right. So pay attention. You know, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished, you know. Let me play that part again. That was heavy.
That actual tank bottom marker will be hit in the next 5 to 10 days, which means we are on the brink of global economic catastrophe while Donald Trump is out there playing war games, killing people in Iran and saying, oh, they called, they want to make a deal. I want to go through this with you with receipts to give you the analysis you need to hear that you may not be hearing anywhere else. And I want to remind you, make sure you subscribe to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. We're on our way to 7 million subscribers, and we really need to hit that 7 million mark soon to get out the truth, to get out the word. Just take a look right here of the satellite image of the Strait of Hormuz right now. You have very little to any inbound traffic, and the only ships that are basically leaving are tied to Iran. Iran has been able to get out 10 million barrels of oil in the past 24 hours. They know what is coming. Since the Trump regime removed the blockade with the Memorandum of Understanding, Iran had a strategy. While Donald Trump was ranting and raving like a lunatic, Iran was able to get out between 50 and 70 million barrels of its oil to the market, which will allow Iran to now survive for at least another 12 to 18 months if a blockade was put on it immediately and the blockade was actually enforced to perfection. So Iran now has bought itself a significant period of time. The United States hasn't, and this was all very, very predictable. As Donald Trump has shut down the White House, it should also be noted, the escalation in the war continues. Iran launched phase 2 of its retaliatory strikes after the United States announced through CENTCOM that 90 targets were hit by the United States, including areas near nuclear facilities in Iran, air bases, and coastal cities. Iran struck earlier this morning in Jordan and was able to target a base there. The IRGC says it struck a U.S.-linked command and control center in West Asia at the Mulaq al-Saiti U.S. air base in Jordan with 10 ballistic missiles. According to Iran, significant damage was done to that U.S. air base in Jordan. Iran also targeted U.S. military assets in Bahrain and Kuwait. You can see right here, play some B-roll for you, at least 5 Iranian ballistic missiles were launched from northwestern Iran towards that air base in Jordan a short time ago. So let's just take a look right here at the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in Cushing, Oklahoma, here in the United States. As Eric Natal explains, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve is now 19 million barrels away from estimated minimum operating levels. There very soon will no longer be a safety buffer to protect the world from further losses out of the strait. Now, when the U.S. depletes those strategic reserves, it gets sold on the world crude market. And that's one of the reasons that the price of crude is going down despite the instability, because massive amounts of the strategic reserve get unloaded into the global market. It's not like that crude or that capacity rather all of a sudden goes to just American gas stations. It's why the price at the pump for you is not going down really at all or at any significant amount. In fact, you're probably paying just about the same. Some of you are paying more, perhaps slightly less. That's called a crack price, which is the delta or the difference between the price of crude, which you may see, $75 a barrel. We know that's now gone above $80 a barrel. But when the MOU was entered, that was like $69 per barrel. But the crack price is the difference between that and what the refineries charge. I won't get overly complicated, but they call it a 3-2-1 crack price because you, out of 3 barrels, 2 are used for like gasoline and 1 is used for jet fuel or other types of like distillate or distillation. But basically that now the crack price is $65 a barrel, which is incredibly high, like historically high. And that means that what you're paying for gas is still expensive. And why is this all happening? Because everybody recognizes the strategic petroleum reserve crisis within the industry itself. And also what seems to be taking place when it comes to the market for the crude is that is being heavily shorted and heavily manipulated by the United States government through both ways of releases in the reserves, but also through shorting. And when you see some of the trading behavior happening, you see aggressive whale-like short positioning taken as the price is naturally trying to go up because of the dynamic in the Strait of Hormuz, which it is effectively shut down. So you have this massive market manipulation underway there, while you have these strategic reserves being depleted. And then the reality of what the oil price is reflected in the crack price, which is basically the delta or the increased amount that the refineries are selling at, which is why there's this massive, massive crisis right now. I think a good analysis of what's going down when people say, well, Iran is striking back, but it's notable. Iran's hitting back at the United States, but it's not like an overwhelming response as the United States continues to escalate and escalate and escalate. So I've been asked a lot, Ben, why do you think Iran is responding kind of, not as aggressive as one might expect as Trump keeps on escalating? Well, Trump's escalation reflects the dynamic that I just talked about, which is desperation. And it's based on a fundamentally flawed assumption, which is if you bomb Iran consistently, they're going to beg for mercy and give up when they're not. Iran is playing actual 3 to 5 dimensional chess. They see what's going on. I think this description here is apt.
So yeah. So my point is that where is this escalation going to lead to? Right now you have basically from what I'm getting, what he's saying, these are economic wars right now, which are going to lead to actual nuclear war, right? Let me get that in Revelation, because we're focused on the end goal. Yeah, everything is escalating, right? But escalating to what? World War III, nuclear war, right? Revelation 11 and verse 14. Let me pull that up real fast. All right, Revelation 11 and 14, it says, the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. All right, which is what the third war representing World War III. All right, and that's vastly approaching us. All right, so all this escalation, as I had in the original thumbnail, is going to lead to this. All right, this is why, as we've been seeing over the past year or so now, all these troops from these various nations have been gathered in this region of the planet Earth. Okay, Joel, the 3rd chapter. All right, Ezekiel 38. All those chapters dealing with the gathering of the troops. Okay, so this is where it's all going to lead to. This is the end game, the escalation that's going on between America, Iran, Israel. All right, it's going to lead to this. All right, you're going to eventually get Russia and China involved. and the rest of the nations as well. All right. So this is the end time prophecy right here. This is what we're all focusing on. You see? Let's play some more. All right.
So people say, well, is Iran not responding with the firepower necessary to deter Trump? That's because the so-called 4 weeks until global economic crisis that Trump talked about a few weeks back. Remember, I had to do the MOU because we're in a global economic crisis. What he was talking about is what I just...
Well, that's the spirit in it. We're in a global economic crisis. So like I said, everything he was breaking down this is an economic war that's happening. All right. And Iran is being very strategic. Like he said, they know what Trump is trying to do, and Trump is acting out in the act of desperation. All right. And really, we all know that this government is compromised anyway. All right. So everything is being pushed through the small hats. All right. And this is what's causing the tension to even get worse in America, because these right-wing Republican pro-America first Edomites, they know that pretty much America has been bought out. It's been compromised. That America doesn't even control America itself. It's all controlled by the who's.
Mention, and it gets a little bit more complicated in terms of how the refineries actually operate, but just that is referring to the strategic reserve drawdown and depletion, basically.
So I'm 33, and suddenly everything that used to be easy wasn't. I barely ever talk about this, but it has to be said. Nobody tells you about this stuff. One day you're crushing it, and the next day you're...
So now we're closer to 10 days away from that actually taking place. So Trump must escalate to break free from this trap that he announced. Iran realizes that. For Iran's goals, however, the situation must continue as is. The Omani route must be made sufficiently insecure to take it off the table long term. That's the southern route in the Strait of Hormuz that the Trump regime has tried to open using the MOU to open their own lane, which they couldn't accomplish when Trump and Netanyahu launched the war in Iran. So Iran's basically saying, we got to just make sure we control the strait, deter tankers, VLCCs, and other ships from using the U.S. lane, make sure they all use the IRGC lane, and then wait. Then wait for the U.S. to hit tank bottom. Then they will suffer massive economic catastrophe, and then they will be in a very precarious situation.
There you go. So it's very strategic on Iran's behalf, because that Strait of Hormuz, I forgot how much of the supply chain. Let me look it up. Let me pull it up 1 second. I forgot the percentage. I know it was like a pretty high number. Let me see if I can just go to it real quick. See if I can pull it up. Strait of Hormuz. Right. Bear with me. Is it Strait of Hormuz? Come on, man. You know what? Let me just look up on my phone and just read it, because I'm trying to type it in and it's just thing is moving slow as hell. So hold on. Let me give me like a minute. Let me just pull it up and just figure out how much the percentage it was saying. Let's see. Strait of Hormuz. All right, Strait of Hormuz and supply chain. Let's see what we get. All right, let's see. Is it going to give me anything? Okay, so it says will shutdown matters for the global economy. So it says here in the site, I'm looking up real quick. It says, in addition to the ongoing disruption to supplies of crude oil and liquefied natural gas, the strait closures affects other important commodities as well. Before the Iran war, the Gulf supplied roughly 20% of global seaborne jet fuel, 10% of seaborne diesel, 23% of ammonia demand, and 33% of helium production. Half of global seaborne sulfur came from the Gulf too, as did 9% of the world's aluminum. It says, in effect, the collapse of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz is two problems at once. The first problem is the immediate supply shock for several important global commodities. Right? Let me see if I can pull this up on the screen. Hold on. Let me see if I can just share that real quick. Bear with me. 1 second. How do I send this over to the screen? Hold on. Because this is a good read. Oh, here we go. Hold on, let me add this to the screen here. All right, 1 second. Let me copy it, paste it. That wasn't it. Come on, man. Copy. Paste. Why is it not copying and pasting? Copy and paste. Come on, man. All right, there we go. All right, here we go. Let me just go back to that read again. Salakia. All right. This is from Dispatches, 15 charts that explain why the Strait of Hormuz shutdown matters for the global economy. All right. Let's go back down to what I was reading. Okay. So yeah, right here. It says, in effect, the collapse of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz is two problems at once. The first problem is the immediate supply shock for several important global commodities, from ammonia to aluminum. Producers around the world are scrambling, right? Producers around the world are scrambling to find other sources for these commodities. The resulting competition increases the cost for producers, who turn past these costs onto the consumers. The impact of this scramble will not be uniform. Wealthier nations may outbid competitors in commodity markets, securing what remains at a premium. Middle tier economies will absorb higher costs through rationing and reduced consumption. But the most vulnerable populations will simply go without, not as a policy choice, but as an outcome of limited supply. There you go. See, this shit is not a game. This shit is about to get serious, man. Okay. It says, reading on here, it says, bear with me, let me go down a little bit, and we'll go back to the video. So we have an idea of how serious this is. By them controlling the strait and, dictating the shots, so to speak, this is going to affect the world, the global economy. And like he was saying, as he was breaking it down, Iran is being very strategic. They're playing chess against America. Okay. So it says the second problem is that even if the strait were to reopen soon, the underlying supply and logistical stresses of the waterway's closure will likely persist for months. Much of the region's refining capacity has been damaged or destroyed during the conflict. The infrastructure required to process and export commodities may take years to fully rebuild. On top of that, the duration of the strait's closure and the state of the U.S.-Iran conflict, when the waterway is reopened, will affect how quickly shipping returns. For example, a prolonged closure during which the alternative supply chains improve, coupled with a fragile case ceasefire where attacks may resume, could make companies wary of returning to the strait. Dealing with both problems requires first recognizing the scale of disruption. The 15 graphs below will help illustrate the global impacts of the Iran war and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz on supply chains for essential commodities. Okay. And then you got the graph showing you all these different things that are going to be affected. All right. So yeah, this is heavy stuff, man. Okay. Oh, that's a good point too. I'll read this and we'll go back. This is before looking at the strait itself. it's helpful to recognize how just a few commodities affect many sectors important to everyday life. For example, jet fuel powers passenger flights and cargo shipments. Diesel allows trucks, ships, and generators to run. Ammonia and sulfur feed the fertilizer industry that yields crops for millions of people. So again, what do we see in the engineered famine? Engineered famine and food shortages, man. Helium is irreplaceable in semiconductors and MRI machines, and aluminum underpins construction and manufacturing worldwide. The Gulf is essential for each of these commodities. All right. So by them having full control of that strait, gives them the upper hand. All right. Like it tells you in but 2 Ezra 15, I think I saw somebody posted about the dragon, getting the upper hand. Yep, that's right. 2 Ezra 6 and 22. And suddenly should the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Yeah, that's going to be the result of all of this, man. As we read earlier in the article here, that certain countries are going to go without. Okay, so people are going to starve, man. Let's see what else. Let's go back. But yeah, that's the point, man. That's right, man. That's a good scripture too, brother. Isaiah 65 and 13, right? Because we understand these things are going to happen, right? But the Lord did promise that his servants were going to eat. Let me pull that up. Isaiah 65 and 13. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Man, that's crucial, bro. All right. The Lord said that his servants were going to eat. All right. The elect. Okay. So even though these things are terrible, all right, we having the faith have nothing to worry about, man. The Lord promised that we were going to eat, and we believe his words. Okay. My servants shall eat, but ye should be hungry. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye should be thirsty, right? Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye should be ashamed, right? And a lot of people are going to be ashamed when, when this thing hits and they have to go without and people are starving and struggling, man. All these people that scoffed and mocked and doubted, okay? You're going to pay for that. Okay, we're in some very dire times. All right. Verse 14, it says, behold, my servants shall sing. Hold on. Behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but you shall cry for sorrow of heart and shall howl for vexation of spirit. It's gonna be absolutely fucking terrible. All right, for a non-believer. For a scoffer or a demon. You people that thought this was a joke. Okay. As I said earlier, the escalation is going to lead to this. All right. So anyway, let's go back, the water for the precepts too. Right. Let's go back here. All right. Bear with me 1 second.
And Trump has trapped himself. That's what they realize. So it goes on to say, worse yet for Trump, oil reserves on his side are steadily decreasing while Iran is exporting with the blockade lifting. That's what I described at the outset. If Trump reactivates the blockade, markets and the memorandum of understanding enabling states will be adversely affected. But it's one of his last remaining escalation option he knows won't affect Iran's behavior because oil is fully on Iran's side. Those MOU enabling nations, we're talking about Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, Pakistan, and others. And So if Trump puts the blockade, he then screws all of those. So those nations saying, don't you dare do that. Trump is also financially entangled through all of the quid pro quo deals, right, with all of those nations. So Trump is stuck in traps. So is Iran incentivized to escalate by a massive missile strike or Iran shutting down the Strait of Hormuz at this moment? No, because Iran wants to get out as much as its oil as possible while the strategic reserves are being deployed. Not escalating just builds clarity with the MOU enabling nations, Qatar, Pakistan, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and others, on who is the escalating side. It makes clear Trump and Netanyahu are the bad guys. That's what they're trying to show, at least. A restraint credit that can be used for escalation at a future point in time. And look what Qatar has just announced. Qatar is pausing efforts to rapidly revive production.
Yeah, he said Trump and not a Jew are the bad guys, and the world sees that. You see what I'm saying? The world sees that. You can go on the internet, social media, alternative media, whatever. Everybody's talking about, the tiny top land, not a Jew, going in. All right, exposing everything, man. I think the elder had posted a website somebody created of the small hats and basically just exposing all their crimes, man. You see what I'm saying? So it's a done deal for Esau Edom. Okay, his back is against the wall. All right, and he's getting ready to be removed from off the map. All right, we at the end, y'all.
Production at the world's largest LNG facility after an attack on one of its tankers in the Strait of Hormuz raised fears that the transit through the crucial waterway is still too risky. As Anne-Marie Hordern explains, this pause is one of the most high-profile fallouts of the heightened tensions this week, with attacks on a number of ships near Hormuz and the U.S. striking Iran 2 consecutive days. Meanwhile, Netanyahu is out there saying the war is not yet over. The war is not yet over. Attacking Iran is like removing a cancer from your body. Israel's defense minister, his name is Israel Katz. His name is Israel. He says, we did not ask anyone for permission.
Hey, that's heavy too. What he said about, if you don't remove the cancer from your body, you'll die. But Esau's the cancer. How the scripture go to the physician cut up off a lung disease. Let me find that. Matter of fact, somebody post that. I believe it's in the Apocrypha, right? The physician cut up off a lung disease. That's the Edomite, man. He's the cancer of the earth. Somebody can post that,
Permission to enter Lebanon, and we do not need anyone's permission to remain in Lebanon. And meanwhile, you have Trump regime lackeys and sycophants on all of the morning shows saying the Iranian people are begging Donald Trump for a ground invasion. All of those massive crowds you saw at the Ayatollah's funeral, that's all astroturfed. Those are all actors. Yes, that's what the Trump regime is saying. The tens of millions of people out there, while you say that Iran is bankrupt and has no money, tens of millions of people were all coordinated and paid off by Iran to show up in Tehran and Qom, in Najaf, and other areas in Iran and Iraq to astroturf this on the biggest scale. I mean, come on. This.
Yeah, the water. Yep. The water. Okay, Sirach, or Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 10, it says the physician cutteth off a long disease. All right. Esau is that long disease, the cancer. Yahushua is the physician that's going to cut him off. And he that is today a king, tomorrow shall die. Ooh, man. Okay. And that's the Edomite, man. Okay, the modern day Pharaoh is about to be cut down. You see? Heavy stuff, man. Right? Verse 11. For when man is dead, he shall inherit beasts and worms. And that's his destiny, pursuing the Job. How's it go? This is the portion of the wicked man. Let me get that. Is it Job 20? Let me get that real quick. This is the portion of the evil man, the wicked man. Right, let me get that. Yep. This is Job chapter 20 and verse 27. All right, Job 20 and 27. And it reads, it says, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity. All right, starting with the prophets, man. Okay. It says, and the earth shall rise up against him. So like I was saying, everybody is going in on Amalek. All right, Esau, Edom, America, the whore, everybody the world has a great disdain for this place, man. And the earth is literally rising up against the Edomite. Okay, verse 28. The increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath. And it's going to be through what? Nuclear destruction. Verse 29, my point. This is the portion of a wicked man from the Most High, and his heritage appointed unto him by the Most High. See that? So this is the portion of his cup, all right, that he's getting ready to drink. You see? Let's go back to what I appreciate that. Heavy precepts, brother. So let's go back. Got a few more minutes, right? Yep, and then we'll play this next video. Okay.
Is such a reckless and malicious fabricated view that gets spread on state regime media that leads to economic depression and catastrophe and the loss of American lives and lives around the world. It's so ignorant. It's so dumb. And I'm grateful that I have this Midas Touch platform that we can talk about the truth, because this stuff is what was polluting the minds of the American people for generations with state regime media and corporate regime media. Here, play this clip.
You see these AstroTurf crowds supporting the regime in Tehran, but I don't believe that propaganda. I think the Iranian people are supportive of the United States coming in and helping them to achieve liberty. And I think that's the direction we need to go.
Oh, for sure. The Iranian people are thanking President Trump. It's all over social media.
Then state regime media brings on this guy, Scott Fitzgerald. We're in a war in Iraq. Okay. Okay, play this clip.
Now, we're in a war in Iraq. That's once again kind of at the forefront. If we don't get that done, we're going to have serious issues down the road.
And then they bring on this guy, Roger Williams, who said nobody wants ground troops on Karg, but maybe we take Karg Island, and that'll really hurt Iran. What do you mean take Karg Island? Do you realize that if US invades Karg Island, there will be tens of thousands of US casualties instantly? What do you mean just take it? We're just gonna hang out. Do you understand that they don't? It is such a fatal ignorance and also or just malicious recklessness, warmongering to just kill Americans and kill everybody, not just Americans, kill Iran, and kill people in the world. Here, play this clip.
Now, the president telling reporters on Air Force One coming back from the NATO summit, he may be eyeing Karg Island, the key Iranian oil hub. But most military experts say that would require at least some boots on the ground. Now, so far, the war has only used air assets. Would ground troops taking Karg Island go too far for you?
Well, nobody wants ground troops. We got the greatest air force and air facility in the world. But there again, that's going to have to be made up by the decisions of our leaders. Personally, I would really hesitate to put boots on the ground anywhere, American young men and women. Karg Island is something, though, that we can, if we are able to take it, can really hurt Iran and their future as far as energy production and living conditions. So that's always a good question. But right now, I'd like to see that we can do it in other methods before we put kids on the ground.
Yeah, good.
So we'll keep you posted every step of the way, as always, on the Midas Touch Network.
Yep, that's right. We'll keep you posted every step of the way through prophecy. Anyway, let's play this one and we'll wrap this up. Again, hit the button. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. All right, this is from Brightian, if I'm pronouncing it right. Your guy, what's his name? The health ranger. Was it Mike something, right? But anyway, I was checking this out for a few minutes early on, and it's about 27 minutes. We may play it all the way through, may not. But it says Trump has destroyed America's credibility in the world. All right, and we've been talking about this a lot. You know, Spirit has been on me to just continue to go in on the whore, man. You know, a lot of my videos going in on Babylon the Great, you know, the judgment and things like that. You know, so again, America's credibility. All right, Trump has destroyed America's credibility in the eyes of the world. America is a joke, man. Okay, greatly despised. All right, let's play that.
Enjoy your beverages with a mug that will last for generations. Our solid copper mule mug is made with high-quality heavy.
All right, here we are. Welcome to Bright Videos News for Thursday, July 9th, 2026. As we sit on the verge of a major escalation of the war in the Middle East, and the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the SPR, is now just 19 million barrels away from its minimum operating levels, which means there's not going to be any safety buffer of oil to pump out of those salt mines. Trump is going to take us all the way down to nothing. He seems to be committed to it, and he's now saying that the Iranians are scum. You know, after Trump assassinated their leader, actually assassinated their general Soleimani a few years ago, and then had their Ayatollah killed and killed their negotiators and bombed that girls' school and killed 160 something innocent school children. Even though he brags about the precision of American munitions, yeah, they killed those children on purpose, obviously. Despite all of this, he says that Iran is scum. He doesn't say that about Netanyahu or anybody committing genocide with his approval and American weapons, but rather about Iran. So because of that, Trump is going to bomb Iran because for whatever reason, Trump is completely delusional. He still thinks that you can defeat God by bombing the Strait of Hormuz away, which is insane. You can't bomb away geography. Trump also said that U.S. naval vessels are being attacked by the Islamic Republic of Japan, which, of course, is shocking news to Japanese citizens who were not aware they had all converted to Islam. And I saw a post about that said, I denounce the Islamic Republic of Japan as well as the evil cabal of Narnia. You know, I mean, Trump is in total fiction la la land. He's so far detached from reality. Trump says that prices are going down, that there's no inflation in America, and that the American people are living in a new golden age. Well, I ask you, how's that working for you? How's that working for you in terms of, you know, fuel prices and food prices and health insurance and home insurance and all that? How's it working? Are things getting more affordable in America? No, not at all. Trump is delusional. He's insane. He's completely detached from reality. The only person more detached from reality may be Senator Mitch McConnell, because he's probably dead. But aside from that, Trump is next up for being the most detached from reality. That's very clear. So we'll see where this goes. It's not going to be pretty. It will mean that the motor oil shortage we've been warning about is going to get a lot worse in America. It will mean that diesel shortages are going to get a lot worse. Fuel prices, jet fuel shortages will get worse, etc. Now, I know that a lot of people in America have been able to kind of muddle through this without seeing much in the way of actual ramifications yet. Well, that's because Trump has been draining the SPR. So as long as you have this buffer of oil and you can keep funneling that oil to domestic refineries or even exporting it to other countries to keep oil prices lower, as long as you have that, everything seems great, It's like if the lights go out and you have a generator and you're running on a generator, the lights are back on as long as you have fuel for the generator or as long as the generator has batteries, if it's a solar generator. But before long, the batteries run out or the fuel runs out, and you find yourself sitting in the dark again because that extra buffer is gone. That's exactly where we are headed in the United States. And shockingly, I heard an economist the other day say that, well, what we've learned since February is that the Strait of Hormuz doesn't matter. Because here we are in America, you can still get fuel, you can still buy food. The Strait of Hormuz doesn't matter at all, they said. I was like, what? What are you talking about? I mean, I was listening to this economist on a YouTube video, and I was just thinking to myself, this person is crazy. The Strait of Hormuz doesn't matter? Well, then why were 120 ships a day sailing through the strait, up until the war, carrying oil and natural gas, liquid natural gas and fertilizer and helium and sulfuric acid and all these other things? Why did we have 120 ships a day sailing through the strait if the strait doesn't matter, meaning that none of those things matter? So then why do we have all those ships? Were they just sailing around for fun?
Yeah, so we just went through all of that early on. The significance on the effects behind the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. All right, as we saw here in the Atlantic Council, this article here, if anybody want to go back and check it out. So this thing is going to get brutal. That's all we can say. All right. And you can watch the rest of that. I mean, he's pretty much making the same points as the first video. I want to just grab this and I'll wrap it up. We're already like an hour in, But it's over, man. I mean, how much more plain could we make this thing, Isaiah 14. All right. Let me go back, Salakia. I clicked out. Hold on. Let me go back. Here we go. All right, so this is Isaiah 14, and let's go down. Isaiah 14 in verse 4, right? Isaiah 14 in verse 4, and it says, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. All right, who's the king of Babylon? The Edomite, man. Okay. And say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. All right. So that influence, that this empire once had is now going down the drain. All right. The power and influence, the dominance is over. Okay. And the nations, they know that. Verse 5. The Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai had broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. See that? It says, he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. All right. Wars. Okay. Sanctions, bombings, infiltration. Okay. Everything, man. Taxes. All right. That's that continual stroke. All right. He that smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth, man. So this is where we at. Okay. We are at the end of the Edomite's dominance, man, on the planet Earth. Okay. It's time for him to be taken down. All right. This is the time we in, man. This is about to get brutal, man. That's all we can really say. So this war, okay, with Iran is back on, and it's all, escalating. It's backfire. It's not going in his favor. You see what I'm saying? So it's pretty much done. All right. So again, like he said, we just going to keep you informed. All right. What's going on? The news and prophecy. All right. Every day. And Lord willing, this thing, turns up, by the next couple of months or whatever, how long it's going to take through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai, man. All right. But we know we ain't got a lot of time left, man. We almost out this bitch. Shalom.